Close. Michigan celebrates with the West Region Championship trophy after knocking off Florida State 58-54 on Saturday, March 24 in Los Angeles to advance to the Final Four. Nick Baumgardner, Detroit Free Press. Michigan players celebrate as they raise the West Region Championship trophy Saturday night at Staples Center in Los Angeles. Photo. Junfu Han, Detroit Free Press. Los Angeles. There was only one strand left to snip when Moritz Wagner looked toward his head coach. More than 5 months ago, John Beilein started a journey that was as fascinating as it was nerve-wracking. He has had teams loaded with NBA talent, teams filled with senior leaders, teams that fought through injuries, and teams that played over their heads. Great teams, good teams, mediocre teams. And then there's this team. Beilein stood near the three-point line watching his 2017-18 Michigan club, donned head-to-toe in Final Four gear, cut down the nets at the Staples Center with only a smile. Wagner looked over to him and asked if he wanted that last piece of the net. He told him to go get it. "Are you sure?" Wagner asked. He was. "I don't know what to feel right now," Beilein said. "This has been some run." Quote, Michigan vs. Loyola. Scouting report. Prediction. Seidel. Charles Matthews the hero as Wolverines advance to Final Four. Michigan is back in the Final Four and, true to form, Beilein's latest version of Wolverines proved once again why they're the most unique group he has had during a hard-fought 58-54 win over Florida State to capture the West Region Championship, and a date with Loyola Chicago in the Final Four next Saturday in San Antonio. Box score. 2 days after lighting up the scoreboard with 99 points, Michigan pivoted and showed why it has been extremely uncomfortable to play against, and why it's now 2 wins away from the program's second national championship. The Wolverines hounded a Florida State team that averaged more than 80 points to 16 for 51 shooting, with 4 field goals through the first 18 minutes of the second half. The win was Michigan's 13th straight, 11 of which have come away from home. Most of Beilein's teams in Ann Arbor earned their reputation on the offensive end. This team's backbone was defense with enough offensive balance to compete and beat just about any type of roster that gets thrown its way. Everyone on this team has a great relationship with each other, Michigan point guard Xavier Simpson said. "It's like a brotherhood we built that separates us from others. We don't have small cliques here. We're a team." Quote, Windsor. Michigan rides defense to reach Final Four. 3 takeaways. John Beilein celebrates the cutting of the net after Michigan defeated Florida State. Photo. Junfu Han, Detroit Free Press. A team that surprised many to be sure, but also a team that set the program record with its 32nd win of the season. A team that brought in 2 new assistant coaches this offseason in guard specialist Deandra Haynes and defensive wizard Luke Yaklich. At the opposite end of the floor, after the players had taken their piece of the net, Yaklich, a former history teacher who was the head coach at Joliet West High School when Michigan made its last Final Four in 2013, climbed to the top of the ladder and looked at the rim. He closed his eyes, took a huge breath, and officially snipped his ticket to San Antonio. "I think you caught me in a moment of reflection," he said afterward. "To be with this program and this culture around great kids and great people is amazing." Quote, Michigan's last Final Four team was expected to make a run. That team was ranked inside the top 5 when the year began. It had the consensus National Player of the Year in Trey Burke and 6 eventual NBA draft picks. More. Michigan's Spike Albrecht wasn't going to get punked in 2013 title game. This team. No one knew what to make of this team when the season began. Beilein told reporters it would be an interesting journey last November. Cautiously optimistic was probably the best way to describe it then. Now, This team is simply known as the 8th club in Michigan history to reach a Final Four. John is the stability of what we've been doing in basketball for the last decade. Michigan Athletic Director Ward Manuel said, "We didn't have this kind of success consistently until John came here. We had lost it there for a while, but he brought it back. For me, I couldn't ask for a better person and better people to be in this program." Quote, "For this team, it has always been someone different. Simpson powered them through the Big Ten tournament. Muhammad Ali Abdur-Rahman was the steady hand guiding the group all season. Wagner was the centerpiece of everything Michigan does offensively." On Saturday, it was Charles Matthews, a talented 6'6" sophomore who had seemed to lose his way offensively in late February only to rejuvenate himself throughout March. Charles Matthews dunks against Florida State's Mfionduka Bengal during the first half. Photo: Junfu Han, Detroit Free Press. He finished Saturday's game with 17 points and 8 rebounds, before being named the West Region's most outstanding player. "Coach B just told us that seeing us jump up and down here with our teammates, that's what it's all about," Matthews said. "It's not about who gets this stat or that stat, but winning for each other." Quote, "The last time Beilein went to the Final Four, it was a cathartic experience of sorts." Michigan's program had finally reached college basketball's peak again after spending years in a post-scandal world. For Beilein, it was his first Final Four as coach. This one's different. Michigan was in its third Elite Eight in the past 6 years Saturday, and will play in its second Final Four in that span. Beilein will hang 2 more banners this year, along with the Big Ten tournament, and has now gathered 6 under Beilein. Michigan basketball is back. The Wolverines aren't a surprise story this year, as they'll be favored to play Monday night in San Antonio with a chance to win their first national title since 1989. Close watch. Michigan basketball cut down the nets at Staples Center after the 58-54 win over Florida State in the West Region Final Saturday, March 24. Nick Baumgardner, Detroit Free Press. In 2013 at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta, Beilein allowed himself to take a moment to soak everything up before tipping off against Louisville in the final. He said he'll do his best to soak it in next week. But this program's heading to Texas with a trophy on its mind. "I want to cut down one more net," Beilein said. "We cut one down in New York City and one in Los Angeles, so I would love to get one more. I'm no spring chicken, and while I don't plan on going anywhere, it's just so hard to get here. We have an opportunity to cut one more down. That would be special." Quote, Windsor. How would Michigan's 1989 title team have looked under John Beilein? Download our Wolverines Extra app for free on Apple and Android devices.